Seleucid dynasty came up against it and got his ass for, it should mention that. Go ahead.
Till they had discomfited them, and given them a great overthrow.
Meaning any king that came up against them, they would overthrow him. Continue.
So that the rest did give them tribute every year.
Continue.
Besides this, how they had discomfited in battle Philip and Perseus, king of the Scythians.
Now when it says Philip, at the time, Philip was the dude that reigned in Macedon, and he had an alliance with the people of Kittim. Kittim is the island, it's the northern region of the island Cyprus. That's what Kittim is. I might even go get a map and see another area of the map. It'll probably be an older. No, it's farther down. It's called Kittim. Anyway, continue.
With others that lifted up themselves against them and had overcome them.
Go ahead.
Verse 6. How also Antiochus, the great king of Asia.
Now this is Antiochus who ruled in Syria at the time. When you see the map that says Seleucid, the Seleucid Empire that was here, Antiochus came up against the Romans. How Antiochus fought the Romans was he would go into areas in Greece that the Romans were taking over, or he'd go down into Egypt. And the Romans were receiving tribute from the Egyptians, grains and rices that they were sending to Italy. So Antiochus ended up in a conflict. Matter of fact, this is in Daniel's chapter 11. We're going to get there. And in other words, he was made to leave Egypt, to leave Cyprus, and all the places that he had conquered in Asia. The Romans made him do that. Go ahead.
How also Antiochus, the great king of Asia,
Antiochus the great king of Asia, because that's what it was called, go ahead,
that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants with horsemen and chariots, and a very great army, was discomfited by them.
Okay.
Verse 7. And how they took him alive and covenanted that he and such as reigned after him.
In other words, when it said they took Antiochus the great alive, literally they didn't kill him because how they don't get their money. They took him hostage, and everyone that would come after him until his debt was paid off. Go ahead.
Should pay a great tribute.
Should pay a great tribute. Go ahead.
And give hostages.
And they had to leave their first, it wasn't their firstborn son. Whoever was the named successor, that's the one who the Romans wanted to stay in Rome with them. And like I said, they treated him well. It was actually, they treated him like an ambassador. Because it was about, it was about money and tribute. Go ahead. They weren't doing all this stuff in America to torture your ass. Go ahead.
And that which was agreed upon.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. And the country of India and Media and Lydia and of the goodliest country.
He's talking about all the places that they conquered. Go ahead.
Which they took of him and gave to King Eumenes. Moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them.
Talking about the Grecians went to war with the Romans because the Grecians, you remember, we read that in chapter 7, right? The third beast was the leopard with the four wings and the four heads. They weren't ready to just give up to the fourth beast. They weren't ready to just go over for the eagle. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And that they, having knowledge thereof, said, verse 9 again, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them.
What it's doing, let me say this. Let it suffice that we see the Romans as whooping ass. Is that good enough? So I want you to, because you was going to read from verses 1. No, you're still going to read. You're going to go to the point. You're going to read from 1 to verse 16. You stopped at verse 9. I want you to jump down to verse 11. Let me see. Yeah, jump down to verse 11. Go ahead.
Verse 11. It was told him,
when it said it was told him, this news was told to Judas Maccabees. Okay, the guy, the patriarch who was defending Israel from the Hellenization effort that was taking place at the hands of the Greeks. Judas was getting a report about the Romans because Judas was about to make a political move. He was about to go and create an alliance with the Romans with the intention of getting the Greeks off his back. And now when you read that in chapter 11, it worked. That's what happened. It happened with Antiochus the Great. And then it happened with Antiochus Epiphanes. The Romans made those two to lead, Antiochus the Great, the Romans made him leave the Egyptians alone. But when it came to Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth, the Romans made him leave Israel alone. Go ahead. And Egypt also. Go ahead.
Verse 11. It was told him besides how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms and isles that at any time resisted them.
Talking about all those islands, those Greek islands that were in the Aegean Sea. It's talking about Cyprus that was in the Mediterranean. It's talking about all those places. Go ahead.
Verse 12. But with their friends,
now it's telling you, they didn't describe how they dealt with their enemies and those that chose to contend with Rome. But when it came to their friends, go ahead.
But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept enmity,
meaning they kept alliance. Go ahead.
And that they had conquered kingdoms both far and nigh.
Meaning they conquered kingdoms far and conquered all the regions around. Go ahead.
Insomuch as all that heard of their name were afraid of them.
Yeah, it's just like the other day. When the Iraqis found out that America was going to bomb, what the hell happened? Everybody gets scared. Go ahead, because they knew about the Roman military might. Continue.
Verse 13. Also that, whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign.
In other words, whoever the Romans decided to help to get to their kingdom, they ended up reigning. Go ahead.
Also, that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign. And whom again they would, they displace.
And whoever they decided to, when they wanted a regime change, you see they're doing the same thing today. Ain't that what the Americans are doing?
Yeah.
Didn't they do that to Saddam Hussein? Didn't they do that in Afghanistan, ousted the Taliban? Or not they talking about doing it to Ahmadinejad? I just read an article today, brother, that it turns out that Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran already got his jet waiting to flee to Russia. Yeah, they're going to take him in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another sign of what? That the battle of Iran is close. Go ahead, just a little footnote, a little side note. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Also that, whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign. And whom again they would, they displace.
Go ahead.
Finally, that they were greatly exalted.
These Romans were praised. But listen to this.
Verse 14. Yet, for all this, none of them wore a crown.
In other words, that's why the scriptures say the fourth beast was different. For all this power and value, because this was a time, well, I'm repeating myself. This was a time before the Caesars. It said, for all this work that you can say about how mighty these people were, none of them wore a crown. Go ahead.
Or was clothed in purple, to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house.
And that's why I said this kingdom, the fourth beast, was different from all the beasts that were before it. They were mighty, but they chose a senate. Now, who got a senate today? That's the same. It's the same thing. Go ahead. A senate house
wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered.
You hear that? Go ahead.
And that they committed their government to one man every year.
Now that one man every year, when you want to read the history, he was referred to as the first citizen. Do you know what the term president means? It means first citizen. But, and how do we know that too? Because what is his wife called?
First lady.
It's always the first lady. It's the same system. Go ahead, and that they committed their government to one man every year, go ahead,
who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one,
but only for 1 year, go ahead,
and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them,
until Caesar came along and they had to kill his ass. Anyway, listen, so go back to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly,
whose emblem was the eagle, by the way. Go ahead.
And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse,
meaning different
from all the beasts that were before
from
it.
all the kingdoms and the diversity